When you look at a computer motherboard, what do you see? A circuit board with lines and connections, maybe a few chips, a mess of wires and ports. At first glance, it can appear to be a mechanical, even impersonal object, a tool designed for processing data, powering devices, and connecting systems. But what if I told you that the motherboard chip, in some ways, holds a mirror to the way we think, how we create our realities, and how our intentions come into being? A motherboard is the central hub of any computer. It's where all the action happens, where the CPU communicates with the RAM, storage, power supply, and everything else that makes the machine run. On a motherboard, you'll find a variety of chips, each with its own specific function, but all of them share one thing in common. They work together, processing and transmitting data at incredible speeds. These chips serve as the communication highways, taking information from one part of the system and sending it to another. At the heart of it all is the processor, the chip that acts as the brain of the computer. The CPU, Central Processing Unit, is responsible for carrying out instructions and executing commands. It's almost like the mind of the motherboard. Without it, nothing would happen. There would be no data processed, no output, no action. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about the chip in our own brains. The thoughts we generate, the ideas we process. In many ways, our thoughts function like the instructions and data that flow through a motherboard. When we think, when we set intentions, we're essentially sending signals to the brain, which in turn processes those thoughts, deciding which ones to act on and which ones to discard. The way a CPU determines how data flows through a system is similar to how our mind determines the direction of our energy and focus. But just as a motherboard can become overloaded with too many processes running at once, so too can our minds. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly bombarded with information, much of it irrelevant, but all of it competing for our attention. It's like a motherboard with too many programs running at once. Everything gets bogged down, and nothing works efficiently. The CPU struggles to keep up, the memory fills up, and eventually, the system crashes. In the same way, when we overthink, when we send out too many conflicting intentions, or when we're caught up in too much mental chatter, we lose the clarity and focus necessary to manifest our desires. Thoughts, just like electrical signals on a motherboard, need to be properly routed and prioritized. When we're constantly jumping from one thought to another, we create a cluttered mental environment, and our manifestation process gets muddied. And then there's the idea of overclocking. Overclocking a motherboard means pushing the processor beyond its standard operating speed. This can lead to faster performance, but it comes with risks. The system can overheat, components can break down, and the long-term damage can be significant. It's an analogy to pushing ourselves too hard mentally. When we try to manifest something with too much force, when we overthink or overwhelm our minds, we risk burning out. Just like a motherboard can only process data so quickly, our minds can only hold so much before they need to rest and recalibrate. Now, think about the motherboard's connections. Each chip, each wire, and each pin on a motherboard is designed to send specific signals and to create certain connections. A malfunction or loose connection anywhere on the motherboard can create a problem in the system or cause it to fail altogether. This is where our thoughts align with the idea of manifestation in a deeply personal way. Our thoughts are the signals, and our belief systems, our emotions, are the connections. If our belief systems are disjointed or out of alignment with our goals, it's like a motherboard with faulty connections. The signals get lost, the intentions don't connect, and manifestation falters. It's not enough just to have the right thought. Those thoughts need to be in harmony with your deeper beliefs, your internal wiring, for them to truly take root. In the same way, when we align our thoughts with our beliefs, when we clear out the mental clutter and streamline our intentions, we become like a motherboard with perfectly optimized connections. Everything flows more smoothly, and the manifestation process becomes far more efficient. The CPU, the mind, can send out clear instructions, and the system, the universe, responds in kind. Then there's the concept of upgrades. Just like how motherboard chips can be swapped out or upgraded for better performance, we too can upgrade our thought processes and belief systems. Sometimes we need a mental reset, a software update, so to speak. We're not static beings. Just like technology evolves, we evolve. Our wiring can change, our connections can strengthen, and our processing power can expand. Consider this: when you upgrade your mindset, when you shed outdated beliefs and replace them with more expansive ones, it's like installing a new chip on your motherboard, a chip that allows you to process more, think faster, and manifest more powerfully. But this upgrade doesn't happen by accident. It requires awareness, intention, and action. You have to clear out the old code, defrag the system, and install the new updates. And just like the motherboard is a complex system that relies on precise communication between its components, manifestation requires a kind of inner communication. Our thoughts, emotions, actions, and beliefs must all align like the connections on a motherboard in order for the system to run smoothly. If one part of the system is out of sync, if your actions are not aligned with your intentions, or if your beliefs contradict what you're trying to manifest, then the process stalls, just like a motherboard that fails to process data correctly. In a way, manifestation can be seen as a constant programming of your mind. You are the coder, and your thoughts are the code. What you think, what you focus on, will direct the flow of energy in your life. Just like a motherboard needs clean, efficient code to run properly, you need clarity and focus to make your dreams a reality. But here's the thing, sometimes we forget that just like a motherboard, the human system doesn't work in isolation. We're part of a larger network. Just as every chip on a motherboard is interconnected with others, so too are we interconnected with the universe, with people, with energies we can't always see or fully understand. Just as a motherboard relies on external power sources, on input from the outside world, so too do we draw from the collective energy and the universal flow of possibility. So, when you're thinking about manifestation, don't forget that the system is always running in the background, always connected. Sometimes the energy you need to complete the circuit comes from unexpected sources. And just like a motherboard, you need to be open to the connections, the signals, the opportunities that come from places you might not expect. And when you trust in the flow of that energy, when your thoughts align with your beliefs, when you upgrade your internal systems, that's when the magic happens. That's when manifestation truly takes off. In the end, the motherboard teaches us a powerful lesson about connection, clarity, and alignment. Just like the motherboard is the foundation of all that happens inside a computer, the clarity and strength of your thoughts are the foundation of all that happens in your life. Process them well, connect them carefully, and upgrade them when needed. And just like the motherboard, the universe will respond to that inner wiring, helping you process and manifest the life you want.